Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bullhucker podcast. Finally, I'm Lewis Lindstrom.
And finally, I'm Matt Gordon.
What's going on, Matthew?
I am so happy to be here with you, Larry, and doing this podcast.
Had a little technical difficulty for the past hour. I lost my shit a little bit. I got a little angry. Said some things I didn't mean. I love you.
I love you. And I think that's how our couples therapist said we needed to handle each other.
So they did. She did.
Your feelings are valid, and thank you for sharing them.
But she said less touching.
No, she said more.
Ooh, I don't know.
Oh, I also want to say Voss, the previous episode was sponsored by Voss, Artesian Norwegian Water. Today we'd like to shout out Celsius Energy Drinks. Thank you so much, Celsius.
So I made a decision at one point in time in this podcast. After 100 episodes, we start bringing some people back.
Yeah.
Some of our favorites.
Oh, snap.
So we have one of our first bring back. He was episode 9.
That was like 100 years ago.
Yeah, this will be episode 118. Or as from current affairs, maybe 117
We
again.
will know. We'll see. We'll see.
Ay, chingada. So anyway, John Beltran, how are you?
Moose, I'm so glad you used a Spanish word, because a lot of people don't know this. I was the first one in my family born in this country. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. My whole heritage is Cuban. So the fact that might not have been the most Spanish common vocabulary word to use. And I don't know what I just said there, but that the most common word to use in the Spanish language. Now I'm back on track, but at least you used something there. So, and exchanging I love yous. Why don't men do that more often?
We should.
Okay?
We absolutely should.
This is one thing that is the epitome of weakness in men. Like, no, I got to be strong. I can't tell another man that I love them. I cry more than my wife does.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
I'm not saying I cry over Michael Jackson videos, but I cry more than my wife does. So anyway, but since the last time I was on this podcast, okay, my son graduated high school, my daughter got married, and my daughter had a little girl. Nice. So now I'm a grandfather. I wasn't as disheveled back then as I am now. So those are the changes.
But there was a very special thing about your episode, if you remember correctly. You don't. John Beltran was the first person to beat us both.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
My 3 stories were associated with the city of New Orleans.
And around the same time period.
Around the same time period in the mid-1980s where a lot of things.
Yes.
They went right and went wrong for me. Because, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you do a lot of stupid crap, man.
Absolutely.
I did a lot of stupid stuff, man.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. I mean, I wouldn't regret it because it kind of defined who I am now. You learn from your mistakes. You appreciate some of the things you did, the friends you made. I'm still friends with a lot of these people. 40 years or close to 35 years after I graduated college. And some of them remember the experiences, some of them don't.
Right.
That's what happens when alcohol's involved.
I love it.
We have to say right away, we can't skip over this, but John, we love you.
Yeah, I love you guys.
We love you, man.
Moose.
We
I
love you,
Matt.
man.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that love's got to go around. And, the Bullhucker podcast, a podcast with teeth.
Yeah.
You're going to make it tough on me, aren't you?
I really am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's an inside joke. If you want to catch me later on, I will be more happy to explain it to you. But my anger right now is a 7. We'll call it 7. No, it's all good. But no, John Beltran, so excited to have you back. You were the first one. When we first started, we had a hard time getting guests, so Matt's done it twice.
Yeah.
3 people have done it twice, but then it's actually taken off since then, so I have a list of people to do. But you came and did a live Bullhucker for us.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I do remember that.
And so you have such great stories, I thought, man, we need to get John Beltran back on this damn podcast.
Well,
got him back.
Yeah, and these might not be, well, actually, they will be edgy. The stories will be edgy. Not all of them, but they're going to have a flair to them. And as you could guess, here's the deal. When you get older, man, the stories really diminish. I mean, what have I done in my 40s and 50s? You gain new titles, grandfather, you gain more experience in your job, you might get a promotion, things like that. But the stories have really, they've diminished in terms of interest, in terms of entertainment. It just, you fall a little bit flat. That doesn't mean I'm not having fun. Okay, I'm having a lot of fun in life.
Yeah.
Now it's just my wife and I.
Right.
And we thought that would be a disaster because when I got married, we had a little girl from my wife's previous marriage. We always had kids in the house, and my son just moved to Miami December of 2022.
What's his name?
Nick.
What's up, Nick?
Shout out,
Yeah.
Nick. What's up, Nick?
Nick and my daughter Melissa, 30 and 20 years old.
What's up, Melissa?
Melissa.
Yeah, no, and I have a close relationship with my kids. I mean, that's the fun part. I mean, we're close. We can talk about anything. There's a huge and obviously a very different dynamic raising them versus them now being adults.
Yeah.
And you can talk about anything. Obviously, there's plenty of cursing involved as well.
Sure.
Because you just let it fly. You let it fly. I mean, I might not initiate it like I used to. I used to curse when I disciplined them, which wasn't always the right thing. But, sometimes with kids, you got to put the fear of God in them for them to respond.
Right.
But once you go through that stage and you get to adulthood, now we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun together. I mean, we joke about things that I would have never been able to joke about when I was raising them. So now some of those stories, as an example, that I told 3 years ago, now my son, who was then 16, 17 years old, now 20, he knows them all.
Right.
Including some that I couldn't even reveal on this podcast because they are so grotesque that if I told them, I don't know what it would do to me. I know. I've almost tried to forget about them. Yes.
That's good.
But I got to tell you, the reason that I moved from, then Louisiana, and then, of course, I lived in Florida, too, to Colorado in 1998 was for a broadcasting job.
Right.
And so I land in Fort Morgan, August of 98. The first thing my boss does, he drives me to Brush, Colorado. 10 miles, drove me to Bee Digger Stadium. This is where we're going to be calling games for God knows how long. I say, that'll be 3 or 4 or 5 years. 25 years later, still doing sports because, Morgan County, I just love Morgan County, the people. And when I got married in 2000, my wife and my future daughter, I told my wife, I said, I can't wait to get you out of this hellhole, Miami. Miami was great, but too many people. Too many people. And we were talking before the podcast started that when I left Miami in 1996, I eventually went to Louisiana and then here, but in 96, the population of Miami was 4.5 million people. Now it's at 6.2 as of 2023. Somebody's got to leave.
Yeah.
And we know that Morgan County's growing.
Someone's got to leave.
Someone's got to leave right now.
Somebody's got to leave. It's more of a melting pot now in Morgan County, but that's the way I grew up.
Yeah.
Right.
We had Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Haitians, Colombians, Jewish, all of them. And a lot of them are my friends, and I love it. Same thing here. It's become more of a melting pot, so I embrace cultural diversity.
Right.
Everything. The food, the people, the music, the jokes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. All right. This new culture that we live in, outrage. I will say this now. America's newest passion is outrage.
Oh, it is.
People start laughing. Okay.
You heard it here.
No, there's no question about it. Can we not laugh?
No, there's no question about it.
I love to be made fun of. I love self-deprecating humor. It doesn't matter. I don't get offended. People need something to do.
My man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Rodney Dangerfield, Red Fox, they're just
the self-deprecating Rodney Dangerfield. No,
the best. The best. In fact, my dad has a very good sense of humor, but it's hard to get him to laugh. It's very difficult to get him to laugh hard. But there is one movie that gets him rolling. Rodney Dangerfield.
It's either Caddyshack or Back to School.
It is Back to School.
Back to School.
Back to School.
Okay,
He goes. So my dad and I, every time I go to Miami, we make a point. He has it recorded. He's had it recorded on his TiVo. Talk about old time technology.
What the hell's a TiVo?
And we watch Back to School, and he just rolls. It could be the same thing over and over again.
Right.
1986 movie. By the way, the 80s were great too.
I heard. I wasn't there.
Yes, but the 80s, some tremendous comedies. But Back to School is one of them. Back to School. You would have been about 11 years old, and I was 21 years old. Yes. And my dad, to this day, loves that. But that is the one movie, Back to School, that we have watched numerous times.
I brought it up at work one day, and a clip from it. Are you familiar with Sam Kinison?
You told me about this guy before. I researched him after because he roasted me so hard because I don't know everything that came out in the 60s.
He's a teacher in the movie. He's a teacher, and Rodney Dangerfield goes back to school.
Yeah,
but the way he freaks out and starts screaming, this was his thing.
The
Sam Kinison, yeah. And that's my favorite part. And I was trying to introduce
history professor.
Yes, and he's talking about Vietnam, and so the guy at work, I was like, Sam Kinison, just watch it. Just give it a shot. Because he's like I like he's naming all these comics now, like Kevin Hart and
All the
shit.
new ones, yeah.
And I'm like, I think that's great. You're going to go see a stadium tour with Kevin fucking Hart. I like Kevin Hart, okay. You're good. He's okay. But, I mean, back then, some of those comics have stood the test of time, you know? Lately, I've been watching a lot of Carlin on TikTok.
Good stuff, too.
And I call him George Carlin the Prophet now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, some of the stuff he came up with back then is just insanely close to being... It's nuts.
You when you were roasting me about not knowing all the things you know, I went and saw a Kinnison video of him doing his stand-up routine, and he would make calls to people in the middle of the show, and this guy had him call his ex-girlfriend. She cheated on him, and the way he called it was like she won a sweepstakes kind of thing.
I've heard this.
Dude, and you could just see the catharsis on the guy screaming with Sam at his ex-girlfriend for cheating on him, like, you cheating on her!
That's why we can't do his act right now, because we blow the volume levels off this microphone, because he was phenomenal.
Yes.
Love that.
But before we go on, I do want to say, hey, welcome to the Bullhucker podcast.
Welcome.
Before we get going, I do want to say, if you're new to the podcast, what we do here is we bring on a guest. Today is John Beltran for his victory lap. What John's going to do is going to tell us 3 stories about his life. Now, here's the kicker. Only 2 of these stories are true. One's either made up, partly made up, or it's a borrowed story. Now, John, without going into great detail, which one is it? Is it a borrowed story? Did you all the way make it up, or is it part true, part lie?
It is a complete lie.
Johnny
It
Beltran.
is a complete lie.
I love
but
that.
I will tell the truth to that story.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Something happened.
Be careful.
on that,
Be careful. Be careful. Don't
give it away, don't give it away.
elaborate. Don't
Okay,
elaborate.
sorry,
'Cause
We're
sorry.
professional lie
You're right.
detectors.
Sometimes.
Right. I know. I have to pretend I'm in a court of law.
That's right.
Just yes or no. That's
right.
it. That's yes or no.
Some people unknowingly gave us the answer.
Yeah.
There was a girl who had 3 stories. 2 of them were real simple, like titles. One was this long ass word, right? So you write it down on the paper. She's like,
Right.
"Hold on, let me get my phone, make sure I spelled that right." I'm like, "You just told us."
You just told us, yeah.
what it was. You know
how
what I mean?
to
So you got to be careful because sometimes you don't.
No,
know
you're
what
right.
to give
You're
away.
right.
So
Absolutely. I should know better. Yeah,
You should know
Yeah, I
better.
mean, you think you get to a certain age in life and you know
Right.
things, and a lot of times you say to yourself, "I still don't know more than I do know."
Yeah.
And I do want to tell you from your last podcast, I do this to you sometimes, and you give me a weird look, and I don't know if you have made the connection to this or not.
Okay.
But he told me about his father. He was an insurance salesman.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I can't remember what the other half was, but he would say people would either call him John Beltran or they called him Johnny Beltran.
Right. I mean, it was perfect because for his English-speaking clients and his Spanish-speaking clients,
Yeah.
so it's either John Beltran for the English or Johnny Beltran for the Spanish-speaking
Johnny
client.
Beltran.
And every
Right.
time I see you, I'm like, hey, Johnny Beltran. And
Yeah.
he always give me a weird look, like, what are you saying?
talking
No,
about?
you're right. No, that's the way it was.
Yeah. So
I mean, listen, it's all about connecting. It doesn't
Yes.
matter what you sell, whether it's real estate, insurance, whether you're an accountant. I mean, connecting with clients, and that's part of it. You know, it helps to be bilingual. I mean, it's bilingual. I try to be bilingual, but anyway, that's
See,
see,
what's that lame joke? What do you call somebody who speaks 3 languages? Trilingual. What do you call somebody who speaks 2 languages?
bilingual.
What do you call someone who speaks 1 language?
Lingual.
American.
and that's good. That's good.
That's better. My firefighter joke.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you can tell the people at church that story.
The podcast with teeth.
Yeah. But no, John, I was super happy to have you back on, man. It's funny, when this podcast came out, you were one of the first people I contacted. You were episode 9.
Right.
And I think that's because you had some scheduling going on. You're a very busy man. So
I think that was around the pandemic.
yeah, it was October 2020 when you were on.
right
So-
before.
And then in 5 more episodes, we quit for 6 months because
Yeah.
I got COVID, Mom got COVID, everybody got COVID. So
I never got COVID.
Curse you, COVID. Why would you say that out loud? Oh my, where's the wood?
Yeah, no, I never did. I never, at least, okay, I wasn't diagnosed with COVID.
Okay.
But I never really felt, I never felt sick.
right.
We need
And
to
I
test your
wasn't staying
blood.
away from people, but it was nice that was a point in life that it was acceptable to say, "Get away from me!"
Oh, I
Yeah.
loved
Yeah.
it.
and right,
Yeah.
and I mean, because as human beings, naturally, we want our space.
Yes.
All right. So now you could do it and not offend anybody.
Yes.
Right.
But of course, now in the culture of outrage, everybody gets offended by everything.
I mean, you brought up the outrage again, and you're right. It's crazy.
It's
People-
getting old.
People look for a reason. It's going to get worse, though.
I agree.
How
I
do you-
totally
how do you-
agree.
How do you curb it? People like to think that they are the ones being put out all the time. They're the
Yeah.
victims. We're all victims. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's nuts with the outrage. You know, I'm a little angry about a situation happening tonight. We're not going to get too far into it. You know what I mean?
But you asked the question.
Yeah.
And this always leads to something else. Somehow I try to connect dots. how do you curb it?
Yeah.
Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I have not missed a single episode.
Yeah.
12 or 13 seasons on HBO, and you could be offended by most of those episodes if you've ever watched Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I have never watched it. I have never gotten a chance.
Oh, my God.
Finally, a show
my
you haven't
gosh,
seen.
yes.
Everybody talks about it. And Larry David's the king of all assholes, isn't he? Isn't that his
Pretty much. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
I mean, do you guys have a favorite comedy series, like of all time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Are you familiar with Psych? It was on USA
Yes,
Network for years.
but I've never seen it.
Okay, yeah, a guy is hyper observant but pretends to be a psychic to solve crimes for a police department.
Ooh.
It's absurd. It came out right before The Mentalist, so it was their first. God dang it!
Yeah.
But I started watching when I was a teenager, and I'll tell you, it's like like eating food, nostalgia. You watch it, and I'm just like, oh god, I'm washing back to those hilarious jokes, and kind of like your dad, you rewatch something that you've seen a zillion times. I'm quoting it as they're saying it, and I'm laughing my ass off while it's going on.
Well, because I'm 2 years away from 60, it's kind of changed. I was wondering, why is my dad, when I was a little boy, just laughing all the time? Saturday nights before he goes out with my mom to dinner, laughing, All in the Family, just laughing. But I was never a huge fan of All in the Family because I was too young.
Yeah.
But then as I got older, certainly in my late 20s, early 30s, I mean, Seinfeld, I've seen most of those episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is a better character than Michael Scott in The Office. I mean, there might be, but The Office to me, it probably right now, the list is fluid. That number one could change, but The Office
Number
right
one.
now is up there. It's number one for me right now. I mean,
That's
there's
excellent.
other stuff that's great. I love. I mean, when I was growing up, I watched Good Times, Jeffersons, Sanford and Son. I loved all that. So Laverne and Shirley. I mean, that was my era, 1970s.
Sure.
And that comedy has aged differently.
That's for
now.
sure.
Yeah.
My white bread answer is Friends. I've always been a Friends fan.
Friends
You're a
is
big
great.
Friends fan?
It's
Love
great.
Friends. Just-
I didn't know that.
Yo, I love Friends. I've watched every episode. But my favorite comedy, my guilty flavor to watch, is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh my
Yes.
Dude.
17. It's a Taiwan Tammy.
Okay, first of all,
You do dry cleaning.
the first four episodes, 4 or 5 episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was some of the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I lasted 10 seasons. 10 now.
Oh, dude.
There was some grotesque stuff in there.
Yes.
Danny DeVito was on every season except season 1, and there was some grotesque humor that even I had to shy away from watching. But I said, my eyes were burning, but I had to keep watching.
You know what? I love on this podcast to do the titles to the episodes. That is somewhat after. The best part about Sunny in Philadelphia is the title. The gang gets hooked on heroin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and they do, dude. I mean, it's such a fantastic show. And Jodie Champion's a comedian out of Denver.
Right.
And she was always posting about that show, and I was like, what's so big about that? And then I started watching, and I was like, thank you. Thank you, Jody. So, but hey, we better get going. We better start telling
We could
some
just shoot
stories.
the shit forever, man.
We probably could
I
just,
love
you know what?
talking to John.
Maybe we have to start another podcast with John Beltran where we just decide the world's problems.
I love it.
Yeah, it would go good. But we do have some stories. You ready to tell some stories, John?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm not a great storyteller. They don't have the best endings, but I have enough substance that you'll be able to tell, hopefully. Well, maybe not, if I'm good enough to tell my lie the right way and the two stories the right way that are true, that I'll be able to stump both of you.
I usually have you read them, but my chicken scratches, I'm afraid you can't.
Let me see it.
Can you try? Okay,
Yeah.
you can try.
I want to try. Super Wowoo? No,
Okay,
I'm just messing
I
with
give
you.
you-
I can read it. I'm just messing around. Super Bowl 23.
All right, Super Bowl 23.
Hold on, we got to read all of them.
Oh, okay, go
Party Police and Karaoke Death.
All right.
You tell me which one you want me to tell.
I'm going to let Matt pick it up.
Me? Oh, well, you know me. I want to hear that Karaoke Death.
Karaoke Death on Sunday nights at Hooligans. This was a bar in Miami. I used to do karaoke every Sunday night after softball. And the only two songs I would sing were I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred
Love it.
and To All the Girls I've Loved Before
That's great.
who traveled in and out our door. So I did Willie and Julio. And the reason because Sunday nights they had, and it was by audience participation in terms of who would win the $50 bar tab.
Sure.
At the end, they get all the contestants up there. Whoever got the loudest claps got the $50 bar tab.
And what year is this?
This was, well, I did this from 1989 to about 92, but this particular story is 1992.
But $50 is a lot for a bar tab.
$50 is a lot of bar tab in 1992.
That's a treasure right there.
So a guy that I had befriended named John Ravapinto, he had one song, and everybody loved it. Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful," and I love impersonations, but he just didn't impersonate his voice. He sang it perfect. He was a good singer. I was more of an entertainer. He was a great singer, so we'd go to the wire all the time. So what happened this one week, I sing my song, and I don't even know if I won that night because all I remember that he wasn't there. He was not there.
Oh.
So I wondered, and that's all I was worrying about. You know, when you're having a bad day, sometimes you're in a different moment. You're not even focusing on what you're doing. You're just kind of going through the motions. But, hey, I'm singing karaoke, so I don't care. But where is John? Well, they said he was here tonight, but he left early. Okay. And this was a couple of months after Hurricane Andrew, which devastated South Florida in August of 1992. And that plays a role in this particular story. So 2 or 3 days later, I'm at work in the insurance industry, and I just happened to, nobody reads the obituaries in a big city, but my buddy Hugh Drummond, we worked in the same medical professional liability department.
What's up, Hugh?
Yeah, Hugh, and he's still alive. He's my dad's age. He's almost 80 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, July 4th, 1943 birthday, I believe. Anyway, that's a different story altogether. So I said, I didn't see my buddy John Ravapinto. I said, he's dead.
Whoa.
I said, what? So eventually I found the obituary in the Miami Herald, and his funeral service was on a Friday. Was on a Friday. They hadn't caught the guy who killed him.
Whoa.
Apparently, this was a roofer from Georgia who he befriended this guy. He slashed his throat. Because these roofers were in from Georgia and from neighboring states doing construction work to fix all of these roofs and all the property damage. And I don't know. I have no reason to even think why John would befriend this guy. But, I don't know what happened. All I know is that he got his throat slashed. I went to the funeral on that Friday. The following Sunday, there was more karaoke. And I remember this. This was Game 2 of the World Series, the Braves and the Blue Jays, because I'm a huge Braves fan. And the guy who committed the crime was inside of hooligans. Unbeknownst to me, we didn't know who it was, and he arrested him right there. That's how we found out later. Well, I had found out earlier that he had his throat slashed, but we found out later that it was a roofer from Georgia. That's how we connected the dots. Having your throat slashed, and the guy who did it, they arrested him. I don't even know what he was sentenced to. The story stopped from there, but I communicated. I finally got a hold of his sister named Karen Mitchell 3-4 years ago. She lives in Pennsylvania. She's married, and we had a long discussion about John because I said we were close. We'd go back and forth with singing every week on Sunday nights. What a wonderful world for him. I'm Too Sexy, and To All the Girls I Loved Before. And to this day, I still pray for the guy. So that was October of 92. I think it was October 12th, Monday morning. So he was there at the bar on a Sunday night, October 11th, and he was killed 1 or 2 in the morning, had his throat slashed, October 12th of 1992. So it was, That's why it's entitled Karaoke Death. So we had so much fun together as competitors, and then it all came to a tragic end. So, and I know the Bullhucker is about, having stories that are compelling.
These are great.
I love that.
But it was, that was quite the moment.
I also do the Louis Armstrong. Very well.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good.
That was Yoda. What was that?
I kind of like that.
We'll do some karaoke about
Luke Skywalker's wonderful world.
What a world is a wonderful. That's my jam too when we go out. But that's crazy. And to bring it back to Hurricane Andrew.
Oh, Jessica?
Yes,
I was just about to say that too.
When you read, you're going to catch up with some of these episodes. Jessica Fila out of Akron has a story about surviving that hurricane, dude. As a matter of fact, her whole episode is pretty damn wild.
Agreed.
So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. But that's a crazy. You said when I want to hear Hurricane Andrew from Miami.
Yep.
That's what I think about.
We had to evacuate, and we were at my dad's apartment. My parents were separated at the time, but we went to my dad's apartment, and I'm sleeping next to my mother on an outdoor balcony one night, and then we drive about 30 miles north to Fort Lauderdale, and the next night we're in a luxurious air-conditioned hotel. I mean, the damage at Hurricane Andrew was crazy. I will never forget when I woke up the morning of August 25th, I guess. It was August 24th. August 25th, trees all over the streets. Then we drove further south, and houses were just leveled. So that's why you had people coming in, professionals from neighboring states, to help repair the damage, which took years. Right. And they're still repairing damage, by the way, in New Orleans from Hurricane Katrina, which was in 2005.
Yeah. Right.
And they have Miami's financially a little bit better off than New Orleans, without a doubt.
Yeah, we went to New Orleans right after Katrina, about a year and a half after that next Mardi Gras, whatever it was. And my friend Tim lived down there, and his wife Crystal. What's up, Crystal? You whack job.
What's up, Crystal?
I love you.
No.
She's like, well, they don't have nice names for places down there. They're still a little old fashioned,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
racist bastards. Anyway, they called it Chocolate Town. They got leveled, right?
Oh my gosh,
Jesus Christ!
Maybe I'll take that out. That's what they called it. Whatever.
No, it's what it's called. It's not.
No. You're not making a comment.
Yeah.
You're stating a fact.
Right. That's what they call it. Right. So, because what I understand is there's a river that goes through New Orleans, and that's where most of the Katrina dumped into. So downtown New Orleans didn't get it. When I went there, I was pretty shocked at how nice it was.
Yeah.
They go, no, it all hit Chocolate Town. And I said, oh, wow. Crystal goes, we should go look at the damage. And Tim's like, Larry's the darkest thing we have with us. It's Larry. Do you want to get murdered and killed down there and robbed and nugged? And
Chocolate Town?
Yeah, it was crazy. But you know what? You laugh. But I mean, I was shocked at the way people talk down there on some of that. You know what I mean? They still, the N-word still flies around.
I know. But I love New Orleans. I love Louisiana. I love the people. I love the culture. But yeah, it's a different country over in Louisiana.
Well, the funny part was, my friend Tim says, whatever you say, Larry, don't take the Lord's name in vain down here. It pisses him off.
Yeah.
I'm like, but the N-word, that flies, that's cool. Yeah, so, I mean, it's funny how different we are.
Cultural sensitivities and all that.
Louisiana is not separated by county; it's separated by parishes.
Yes.
And that tells you right there.
Right.
That's a huge deal. So what you said is accurate.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But what a beautiful state, by the way.
Oh,
gorgeous.
I mean, I was there June of 2022. Had a great time, and we stayed an extra 2 days. Crazy enough, because we were flying back to Denver on a Friday night. This is not part of the Bullhucker podcast in terms of the stories, but we were on the plane for an hour. It hadn't even taken off, and a bird struck the wing, and it damaged the wing. So it was called an act of God. They took all the luggage off the plane. So my wife and I stayed an extra 2 days in New Orleans, and we couldn't get a direct flight. We had to fly through Las Vegas and then back to Denver.
Isn't that horrible?
Jeez.
Oh, it was terrible. We were in the Las Vegas airport for like 4 or 5 hours Sunday, and I didn't get here till Monday morning at 8 a.m. when it was supposed to be Friday night in Denver at 8 p.m.
Yeah, right.
So, but we had a great time for the extra 2 days in New Orleans. Oh, did we have some great food?
That's awesome.
But I'm saying at one point in time, you probably flew over Denver to get to LA.
Pretty much. Pretty much. But hey, you got to take what you can get.
What do you think about that one, Matt?
R.I.P. John, how do you say his last name again?
Ravapinto,
R.I.P. John Ravapinto.
John Ravapinto.
If you're real.
Yeah,
if you're real.
Well, I feel, I mean, talk about a perfect way to curb us by talking about your dead friend. But I got a feeling that one's probably true. That seems, I got a good vibe about that one.
I question a little bit, and I think we have someone that's been on this podcast before and has listened to a few episodes, so
he doesn't mind stabbing us with emotions.
Yeah, I think.
Well, remember, I'm not a good storyteller. You can tell I'm all over the place at times, and sometimes I don't get my facts lost. I just get lost in the trail of the story.
That's what they all say. See, he is playing us. All right, it's a lie.
I get lost in the trail of the story. The only thing that I'm somewhat good at is play-by-play because it's unfolding in a certain order in front of me.
You just say it.
Everything else, I got to go off of memory.
What do you think?
So far, it's the front runner.
Yeah, it's either true or false, and that's the other one you've listened to.
Come to the Bullhucker for those level of jokes, guys. We really kill it here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I have to hear too, but I have some doubt in that one for some reason.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But who knows? We'll see.
I just want Reva Pinto to be like a person who existed. You know what I mean? It just seems like such a really cool guy.
That seems like a lot of work to put on a fucking headstone. You know what I mean? That's a lot.
Reva Pinto. And a hell of a name to make up.
Yeah,
where do you Google that? Names that no one will ever think I ever made up before. Reva Pinto.
Yeah, John, if that's a made up name, you get extra credit for
For
that.
real. 2 points for you.
All right, we got 2 left. We got Super Bowl 23 and Party Police. So there's always one I want to hear the most. And I'm going to listen to that one last. So instead, let's hear Party Police.
Ooh. Okay, Party Police. This sounds like a story that you've seen in a movie, but this was my 23rd birthday, 1988. And that year, my birthday fell on a Saturday. I remember because my friend Madi came over on a Sunday. She spent the whole day with me by our pool at my dad's house. So that Saturday night, and you're going to think, oh, come on, I've heard this story a million times, but this is exactly what happened. We planned a party because my friends wanted a party at my parents' house, which was only like 2.5 years old at that point. They had built a house. They had bought the lot in 1982. The house was completed in 1985, but I was in college at Loyola, New Orleans from 85 all the way till I graduated in December of 87. So this was the first party that I threw after I graduated college at the house.
Okay.
And I'm guessing we had 120, 130 people over. And I said, if we're throwing the first party, and I just graduated college several months earlier, of course we're going to have a couple of kegs, but we're having hurricanes. We bought a big old cooler. We're going to have New Orleans Hurricanes because that is mandatory. I know it's red. I know it gets messy. Don't wear white. Okay? Don't wear white. So anyway, the party's going along. And again, this is going to sound like a generic story that I pulled out of a movie. Party's going along, and all of a sudden, my buddy George Del Valle comes through the door.
George what?
Del Valle. D-E-L-V-A-L-L-E.
He's just making up all these names.
George Del Valle.
All these people aren't even real.
Welcome to the John Beltran Bullhucker podcast. Can I buy a vowel?
Yeah.
He comes through the door. I said, dude, the cops are here. There's a smell of marijuana inside the house, and they want to take you downtown. I said, come on, this is ridiculous. No. I start freaking out on him. I said, George, please. I know you haven't graduated law school. I can't. My parents were out of town. They were out of town that weekend, even though it was my birthday. But I had seen plenty of my birthdays up to that point. And I said, dude, I can't. I literally almost started crying. So I didn't see the cop at all. All of a sudden, we go to the gazebo because the party was in a gazebo in my backyard. The party's in a gazebo, and there's a chair right there. And he said, sit down in this chair. I'm going to keep you calm. Don't worry. You are not going to be arrested. And this female cop comes around, right? And now all of my friends start gathering. Said, here's what happened, sir. She's telling me the charges against me. All of a sudden puts the handcuffs on me, and you know what happens next.
Yes.
She begins to disrobe.
Yes.
Begins to disrobe, and then I'm like, Johnny. Now they kind of call me Johnny B. And they're rallying around me, and I said, oh my gosh, I'm 23 years old. This is right. I'm feeling the prime of my life, and then she takes off my shirt while I'm in cuffs, and what I said right there. The pants stay on. The pants stay on. And, I mean, just doing all these types of gestures you can imagine, right? Yeah. And everybody's cheering. I mean, and this was not an all-guys party. I mean, there were mainly guys, but we had very few people that were married, and the story just continued from there. And she left. I wasn't arrested. I said, dude, and I still had the handcuffs on me. I said, get these handcuffs on me. And finally, my buddy got the key from her and unlocked it. She left, and that was it because I didn't know what the rate was. I didn't pay for it. I had no idea she was coming. And again, I know that this was eventually like an American Pie. They did this, I think, in American Pie. But this was 1988, and that actually happened to me. And I just thought the whole thing was crazy off a marijuana charge. I did have quite a bit to drink at the time. So they planned it out that the party started. We always started parties for some reason 8:30. 8:30 sounded like a good time because, and this would have been May, right? May 22nd, but the party was May 21st. Sun going down. We don't want people getting here at 7:30. We want it to be dark when people arrive. So they wait till about 10:30. And I don't remember because I had so much to drink. I was not drunk, but I had enough to drink that everything was the truth for me. So anyway, and that's why I said these stories don't have the most exhilarating endings. But she left, And that was it. I freaked out at my buddy George Del Valle because I thought they were going to arrest me, but he said, it'll be okay. Yeah. I found out later he was the one that hired the stripper.
Damn you,
and
George.
That's why. So, George, I love you, buddy. Just like I love you guys. George and I have been friends since, 5, 6 years old. So for me, that would have been 1971, 72,
awesome, man.
70.
That truly is awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, that sounds like it's very generic and it could happen to anybody, but that happened to me on that night.
Real quick, it's kind of, you're young, but you're going to fall into this, hopefully, by the grace of God. It's cool to have friends that long.
Oh, absolutely.
I have a friend, CJ Jones, I met when I was 5, Mac Deal when I was 10, and we've been friends ever since. You know what I mean? And it's cool. When you get old, but it's cool to say, I've had a friend for 4 decades.
I'm not at the 4 decades yet, but Jordan Krismer comes to mind. Love you, Jordan.
What's up, Jordan?
We've been friends since 5th grade.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you were 10.
Yep. It's almost 23 years now.
Yeah, but my longest knowing friends, they don't live in the same town I do.
Yeah.
Never. But I love that, and I wonder if you guys echo this, is like my favorite friends in the world are the ones where we don't talk for a year and we call each other and talk, and it's like nothing happened at all. Yeah. It's the friends just pick up right where we left off.
This might sound like a stereotype, but I don't know if that works with women as much. Women they seem to talk a lot more because I know. Well, no. Listen, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just telling you.
I'm
right
offended,
now.
John. I'm so offended. Outrage. I'm so outraged.
My wife and daughter talk every day.
Right.
Me and my son, and I know you're talking about a different dynamic with friends as opposed to family members.
Right.
But guys are normally like that. Yeah. We're not going to talk to our best buddies every week.
Right.
And I'm not saying my wife talks to her best friends in Miami every week, but they communicate with each other more often than we do. So it's not a matter of oh, my God, they just talk. No, we get lazy about that when we should be communicating more. In fact, one of my good buddies, George Zamis, we've been friends since kindergarten. So now we're going on 53 years. I called him several months ago before I went to Miami in December. And he said, is everything okay? Yes, George. Everything is okay, asshole. I'm calling you because you're my friend and we should talk more often. I'm not calling you out of an emergency because I can talk to him like that. And I did say that. I said, I love you, but come on. We need to talk more often. Enough of this crap of letting months and years go by without talking and just taking each other for granted. And we're going to be 75, 80 years old, and then it's going to be all over. And hopefully we're all in heaven or wherever the destination is. And we wasted all this time not communicating with each other. So, no, it's not that something is wrong. Nobody has died in the family. I'm calling you because you're my friend. I love you, and we need to talk more often. So
I wasn't planning on having an existential crisis today, but now, hey, Jordan, I'm going to be giving you a call, bro, because we got to catch up more often, dude.
I mean, well, for my friend like Mac, it's wild. It's always when something, like you just said, somebody passes away, and you realize, man, like, 3 or 4 times I've called him and said, yeah, man. I love you, Ted. I love you, Mac. You're my boy, man. It's so CJ.
You're my boy, Mac.
It's a wake-up call.
It is. Like his cousin passed away this last year. He came to Brush. He lives in Oklahoma. We go meet for lunch, you know what I mean? Just kind of hang out and bullshit. And it was good it's like when your brother comes, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a guy, he's like your brother, you know what I mean? You just kind of give each other shit, And I remember one time, I lost a friend named Kelly Riggins in Pueblo, one of my very good friends. Mac actually drove a very far distance just to come check on me and make sure I was cool. You know what I mean? To go with me to the funeral.
That's special, man.
Yeah, man. He goes, because Kelly and I were tight. You know what I mean? We were good buddies. And he knew I was upset about it. So he just came down to hang out. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of shit. You know what I mean? So I'm going to give you a call too, Mac. This is, this is the crybaby episode. That's how this title's going.
No, I think it's good. I mean, we let it off with men need to show that love. And I definitely believe that it's something about just reminding each other that we care and being close to one another, and not just those moments when everybody's dead and we're calling them when an emergency
we're
is.
We're supposed to do that as people anyway, but the stereotypes associated with men, they're there for a reason, and that's one of those. And there's many others, by the way. Another one that I used to get made fun of, all my friends outdrank me. Hey, you're not cool because you're not getting wasted at age 24, 25. Well, I was the one that said, I'm going home, dudes. It's 2:33 in the morning. I'm out of here.
Yeah,
I'm not drinking anymore. Yeah. Okay, you guys can drink each other under the table. Call me a loser, whatever you want. I'm going home.
Right.
And they're still my friends.
Yeah.
All right. That's the whole thing. I knew I wasn't going to lose friendships because I couldn't keep up with the boys.
Yeah.
I said I've got a deeper voice, but so what? I can't pack them down. I said, guys, And I never have weighed more than 180 in my life.
Right.
They're big guys. Well, not all of them. Actually, my buddy Alex Rodriguez, not the baseball player, he could always drink.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this very quickly before we go to the next story. We spent a week in Cancun in the early 90s at my parents' timeshare, and we kept track of how many beers we drank in a week.
Oh, my God.
Okay? And I think this is pretty much the official count. My buddy Rock, this is in 7 days, had 152 beers. My buddy Alex had like 138 or 140 in that range. My buddy Jay had about 60. I had 26. And I had 12 in the first day because there was a time change. I picked up 2 hours, and that was a 12-pack in the first day spread out over God knows how many hours. So that's how deficient I was in my totals drinking as opposed to the rest of my friends. And we were like 26, 27 years old at the time.
Right.
And it only got worse from there because as I got older, I couldn't even keep up even halfway.
I can't relate to your story at all. I'm usually the one that passes out first. I get shit hammered. And it's all my friends that see me naked probably way too much. You know what I mean? They identify me in a lineup kind of stuff. But that's friendship. You know what I mean? That's
those are great stories.
It is great stories. And someday Mac will come on here when he comes back to town. I'll get him back on here. And that's a podcast I'm truly worried about. You know what I mean?
Oh, because
he's someone who knows
the
way
deep,
too much about me.
Deep cuts.
Yeah. I mean, he was there for all. Well, when you have friends like that growing up, they're your friend when you're going through awkward times in life.
Yes.
When you learn life lessons together with those men. You know what I mean?
100%.
And that's and I know stories about him, and we tell stories about each other, and it gets brutal, you know what I mean? But we laugh, and no maybe some hard feelings like, God damn it, There's a story he tells about me that I absolutely despise. But he knows he pisses me off. It's not a horrible story.
Yeah.
It's just a weak moment I had, and he's like, do you remember the time? I'm like, here it comes.
The same story.
Like, we're married. Like, bring it on.
I was just going to say that. I've been married now. I'm coming up on 23 years. You have a great marriage when? Okay, and I think I've got a pretty good marriage. I mean, I love my wife. I'm in love with my wife. But you have a great marriage when your wife knows all those stories that she's really not supposed to know.
Yeah.
But what do I have to lose?
Right.
I mean, it's a secure relationship. It's a spiritual relationship, and it's great. So she knows all those stories.
Right.
Some of those are horrifying. She didn't think a human being was capable of doing. Not criminal.
Yeah.
Just a little
good
crazy.
clarifier, John.
Right. Well, no.
I'm not a mob boss on the side. I don't murder people. I just smoke weed.
Right,
That's it. No big deal.
Handcuffed with a naked woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean. Thank goodness there are no pictures.
Oh, but
well, there's actually a couple.
There's
actually a couple
Polaroids or something out there.
Yeah, I got some, but thank God. I thank Jesus that there was no smartphones.
Oh God,
it's a nightmare now, man. I can't imagine growing up with all that. Every single second of your, mistakes that you're making and learning in those moments is recorded forever.
You cannot teach your kids and give your kids what your parents gave you because of the society you're being raised in. That's the bottom line.
I agree with that.
That's a pipe dream if you want to try and do that.
Right. I mean, can you imagine your mom and dad just taking pictures of you doing everything? There's a girl I on Facebook. Her son's applying for a job, and she's sitting there while he's filling out the application at the restaurant taking pictures. Like, his first application, I was like, oh, my God,
right.
Beat it, Mom, I don't know. I know 17-year-old Larry Lundstrom would have been a nightmare with a cell phone. If I had to look back at the Facebook post or my MySpace post when I was 17, John, holy shit. I'll never be president, I'll tell you that right now.
I'd love to see your TikTok and all the dances and trends you'd be doing, and
I'd kill it.
Michael Jordan, revered as the greatest basketball player of all time, said that had he lived in this era, the social media era, his career would have been different.
I believe that.
I guarantee
without a doubt. Without a doubt. Charles Barkley's not even on social media, even though he's 60 years old,
right.
As of 2023, because they said, no, I can't do it. I don't want to respond to those idiots. I don't want to fall into that trap because let's face it, social media is an avenue and a trap that people can fall into depending upon the way you address it.
Yes.
All right, check us out on Facebook and YouTube.
And while we're at it,
I do love social media though.
On the bottom right-hand corner, On the bottom right-hand corner is a little red dot. That's a subscribe button. Go ahead and press that button and follow the podcast, because when you press that button,
it's a small click for you, but it's a big click for us.
Right. Thank you, Matthew.
I didn't want to mess it up this time.
You're the man.
Yep.
I mean, I should mention I work in professional media, and working in professional media involves social media. But no, I'm just saying social media is like everything else.
It is.
There's good and bad.
Always.
I mean, there's certain foods I love to eat, and they're not exactly all healthy, even at this age, okay? But I love them, all right? There's some negative components to them. That's it.
Who are you talking to, bro?
Yeah, I was going to say, man, I think we get that one.
I'm the size of an offensive lineman. All right. We got one more. Super Bowl 23.
Oh, man, I'll never forget this. At Dean Post's house. Dean Post was the only one of our friends who was married. He was the only one who was married.
What's up, Dean?
This would have been 1988. Again, back to 88, Super Bowl 23. The 49ers took on the Bengals. Yep. So he says to us, my buddy Wade and Alex and Roger, all of us, and it was mainly guys over there, but he wanted it at his house because he was the only one who was married to his wife, Lucy, who was Lucy Appleton, now Lucy Post. He said, we're going to play a drinking game to make it more interesting rather than just – because what happens during the Super Bowl, if you've ever been to a Super Bowl party – people don't pay attention to the game. No. And that's just not now. That's been going on for years. My mom, who is now 80 years old, she goes to Super Bowl parties most years. Of course, she's not a big football fan, but she says even the men who love to watch football, they don't pay attention. So he said, we're going to make this into a game. He put all these names in a hat, only 8 names in a hat. 4 offensive players for the 49ers and 4 for the Cincinnati Bengals. So for the 49ers, Joe Montana, Roger Craig, Jerry Rice, and John Taylor. Okay. And for the Bengals, Ickey Woods, Boomer Esiason, Eddie Brown, and Chris Collinsworth.
Okay.
The NBC announcer.
Eddie Brown,
University of Miami. Okay. He was a University of Miami receiver. He was around that era of Michael Irvin. You know, he was. I think he graduated a little bit right around Michael Irvin's time, because Michael Irvin, Hall of Fame receiver for the Cowboys. Sure. So anyway, you pick out. It's a blind, and you can have 2 people can have the same name. By the way, we had like 20 people playing, and you pick out a name, and that's who you represent. So anytime that player touched the ball, then you had to have a shot. Oh, God. Shots of beer. It's like Bud or Bud Light. Okay, Bud or Bud Light. God. And now, except the quarterback. The quarterback has to complete a pass because the quarterback's touching the ball every play. But again, the shots were no more than 2 ounces because. And by the way, football back then, and he saw that as an acceptable game because football back then was not as wide open as it is now. Yeah, right. You know, they weren't throwing a lot. It was more a conservative game. The games actually went faster. They weren't these 3.5-hour games, all this passing, all this offense.
Yeah, how are we going to sell Snickers if we don't make the game longer?
Not only that, every time there was a first down, everybody had to have a shot. Every time there was a touchdown, everybody had to have a shot. And if your player, like I was John Taylor, who caught the game-winning pass. And incredibly enough, he only had 1 catch in the game, and it was the game-winning touchdown with like 20-some-odd seconds to go. The 49ers won 20-60. So I had to have 2 shots, as an example, because everybody had to have a shot on the touchdown, and then the player you represented because he caught the ball. Yeah. And then Montana threw the pass, so the guy who – so it was an awesome drinking game. My buddy Dean was drinking before the game. He was drinking – I said, he's not going to last. Finally, in the third quarter, he went to the bathroom. And this guy wouldn't come out. And we said, Lucy, what's the story with your husband?
You've got some explaining to do.
He's not coming out. And finally, he came out, I guess, early in the fourth quarter, and he wanted to resume playing. I said, no, dude, you've disqualified yourself. You weren't here during the third quarter. And he said he didn't even throw up. He said he was working on the other end. So he got clogged. I said, dude, you got clogged for half an hour?
Yeah.
So I said, no, you have disqualified yourself. We're going to finish this game without you. We survived it, but we stayed an extra, after the game was over. And remember, this is in the Eastern time zone. So that game wasn't over till like 9:30. We didn't leave till close to 11:30 because we were, because 2 ounces turns into 4, turns into 6, turns into. I don't know how many first downs there was. Thank goodness the final score was only 20-16.
Yeah, you guys have been toasted.
Okay, because it would have been crazy.
But when you're doing shots of beer, John, you get shit-faced faster too. When you do shots of beer,
we didn't know that at the time.
What is it? I've never heard this. Good to know.
I didn't know. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I think that I'm not loosening it or tightening it. But I did not know. I did not know that at the time. I mean, when you're 23 years old, Moose, you're essentially an amateur drinker.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know what, because to me, honest with you, for the last, 40 years of adulthood, I've always thought wine is the one, especially red wine.
Yeah.
Okay, red wine. That's why you drink red wine with certain foods. They complement certain foods. I don't know if it makes you feel any better, but red wine, with pasta or with steak or something like that. But at least for me personally, red wine or any form of wine always affected me more than beer, because I'd been used to drinking beer.
Right.
Starting at age 12. No. I mean, no. I didn't start drinking until I was 17.
Right.
But I already had an affinity for drinking beer, which I don't drink a lot of now. So anyway, I mean, we got through that game, but it was like, wow. I mean, Dean disqualified himself because he spent half an hour in the bathroom thinking that he was throwing up, that he was vomiting, and his wife kept asking him, and he wouldn't say a word, and then he just came out of the bathroom sometime in the fourth quarter. But I said, dude, you're out. Get out. I don't care if it's your house. You're not playing the rest of the game. You made up the game. You invented the game, and then you abolished the game.
You abandoned the game.
You abandoned the game, right? He didn't abolish it. He abandoned the game.
Dropping a deuce.
And the crazy part was, it's the 80s. So if you've got a running back, they don't run by committee in the 80s.
Oh, that's right.
Roger Craig and Ickey Woods do every damn down, at least 3 of the 4 downs.
That's why we played it like that. That's why we had a quarterback, a receiver, and 2 receivers and 1 running back, because you had the feature back. Absolutely.
Right.
There's no
no third down back in the 80s.
No, that did not exist. It's not like the Cowboys with Tony Pollard and
yes.
Ezekiel Elliott. No. It was the main guy.
Or Felix Jones, or when they've been running by committee forever. But I mean, back then it was all Emmitt Smith. So, you Ickey Woods? Are you familiar with Ickey Woods?
No, this is a bit before my time.
The Ickey Shuffle was the biggest thing.
I've heard of that, but I've never seen the dance.
Yeah, the dance is what every middle school kid did, the Ickey Shuffle whenever they scored a touchdown.
Okay.
It was.
He had a very brief career, but in 1988, the guy was a stud.
He was a stud. Yeah. He was awesome. So that's a great story, man. And I remember that Super Bowl. That was it was my first Super Bowl party I ever went to, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom's best friend Tammy Alexander had it, so it was pretty wild.
Yes, I know Tammy well.
Yeah, so it was pretty fun. So, all right, well, do you have one in mind?
I do.
I see, that one threw me. So I thought I did, but now I don't know. That's
I do.
Pretty wild. Before we go any further, one thing we do now is we're going to watch a short video real quick of one of the vendors upstairs. So the Brush Emporium, I didn't really get a chance to talk about it. We want to say thank you to the Brush Emporium for giving me a chance to build a studio down here in the basement and have a place for the Bullhucker to have a home. So we do is we try and support them. And if you support small business, you come support the Emporium. Have you had the pizza here yet?
I have not, but
it's off the chain.
Trust me, Matt and I have discussed it, and we've already had plans. My wife and I have plans.
Come get a pizza.
And you know what? I don't even think I have a plan with her. I think I'm just going to do it myself.
Just do it. Make it happen.
Yeah, that's right. Go rogue, man. But come down and check out the pizza. And check out, they're going to have ice cream coming here. They have pretzels. They have all that good stuff. And they have a lot of small-town vendors in here.
Well, hold on. They
have
ice
salads.
cream too?
Yeah, they're going to get ice cream machines here very soon. Yeah, dude, it's going to be crazy.
God.
We're all going to be 500 pounds.
Yes, this place will be the devil. It's they're going to have an insulin shack on the way out.
Yep.
So, but yeah, please make sure you support them, because these are people that support small-town business.
Yep.
The 4 owners of this facility are 4 people who have loved Brush for a very long time. They've devoted a lot of time. You got a current mayor and an ex-mayor as 2 of the owners. They're great people, and they really do. They started this business to help bring downtown back.
Yes.
So please support them, because if you don't support small town business, it goes away, right?
Man, you're doing my job for this. Is so great. I love it.
But it's the truth. Director of the Chamber of Commerce.
I love it.
Now that I have lived in small towns between here and Louisiana for 27 years, I have to tell you, there's been 2 or 3 times when businesses have closed in small towns, maybe not because people were supporting it, just because it had not worn out its welcome, but, you get older owners and you can't sell them, and they said they're done. And
they run the race.
Oh, it's not a good feeling.
No.
It's not a good feeling, because you want it to hang around forever.
And from what I understand, every vendor here is kicking ass. They're doing so well.
Yes.
So people have been very good about supporting us. So please, and not just the Emporium, support all of downtown Brush. Even Fort Morgan, whatever town you live in, go support their local businesses, okay? Because when they go away, you don't have options then. And then you want to bitch when Walmart's all you got left, So make sure you support them. And when you support small business, what else will happen? You give money to somebody who supports and spends money in your own community.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't go anywhere else.
Turn that dollar over local.
That's right.
Yep.
So let's check out this video real quick.
Check out this video.
Hi there, my name is Madeline Hagen. I'm an integrative health and Reiki practitioner, and I have some of my products that I make at the Brush Emporium downtown at 210 Clayton Street in Brush, Colorado. I've got a variety of loose leaf teas, lotions, scrubs, salves, and sprays, all for your home and all for your natural wellness needs. You can shop all of my products and learn more about my services and everything that I offer on my website at www.holistichomeandhealth.co.
All right. So please, like I said,
Whoa, that
please
video
support
was that was crazy.
them. I mean, blew your mind, right?
Whoa.
Took me forever.
Wow, what a crazy video. Those people sell cool things.
So I haven't decided which one to put on there. That's what he's saying. So.
Right, exactly.
All right, John. Before we go any further, John, what we do now, it's been a while. I don't know if we did this with you, but we rock, paper, scissors to see which one of us has to guess first. Now, John, there's two ways to rock, paper, scissors. There's the 4-pumper and the 3-pumper. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes. I've always done the 3-pumper, which is 1, 2, 3. You know, not 1, 2, 3, 4. To 1, 2, 3. I've always done 3-pumper.
Because you're the man, John.
No, you can be wrong, but it's okay. We still love you.
Well, do you know what my favorite sport is?
Yes.
Baseball?
Baseball is my favorite.
I had to guess
sport.
it.
So 3 strikes. I mean, okay, there are 4 bases though. Well, there's 3, but I've always. And I also think spiritually, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So three's, it's kind of those things.
That's the best argument I've heard for it. Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
I think 3's over 4's.
Down, set, hut. Ready, set, go.
There you go.
All right. Ready, Matthew?
Respectfully, I disagree with everything you both just said.
Okay.
Eat it, Larry.
I am going to, in fact, eat it. We have 3 great stories. Super Bowl 23, Party Police, and Karaoke Death. Now, originally, Karaoke Death was the one I was picking. Yes, it sure was. But I'm not going to pick it now. John, you did a good job. I thought you lied the whole time. So it's hard to pick. No, just kidding.
Can you believe 2 of those stories are actually true?
Yeah, professional liar up in the
stories.
house.
So Karaoke Death, I'm going to go ahead and pick that one as a true one. I don't know why. That's not my gut feeling.
Okay.
Super Bowl 23. That one had the least amount of detail, so man, I am really aiming towards that. But I'm going to go ahead and go true with Super Bowl 23.
Really?
Well, I'm going to take Party Police as my Bullhucker. And the reason I'm going to take Party Police as my Bullhucker is because it seems like something a little out of sorts for you, John. Now, the young John Beltran might have done that. I don't know, but I have not that. It just seems like if you take the vibe from the other 2 stories, you're always having a good time, you're always having a party. But for some reason, that just seems a little off to me. So I'm going to go with, against my gut feeling, I'm going to go Party Police.
Interesting. You know what's funny is that's the one I was leaning towards a little bit. He said a line. You said a line. You were handcuffed, and then they pulled the shirt off you.
Yes.
How does that work? And I was like, I don't know if I jive with that. But
Professionals.
I guess there is some skills. Or he was wearing a tearaway shirt when he was in his 20s, which is cool. I mean, hey, man, respect if you can pull off the tearaway.
Skinny John Beltran, he got a Hulkamania shirt on.
Yes.
I am not the best storyteller. I did preface that with all 3 stories. I'm not the best storyteller, so sometimes it might sound out of order, but who knows?
You know what? I came back around. I'm picking Karaoke Death.
Are you really?
And that's. I would love for this gentleman to be alive and that for that whole thing to be real. But my vibe was John knows how to trick us. John knows what we expect.
That's true.
And this is the kind of story where you'd go, "There's no way you'd talk about that friend who's died." But that's the perfect one to get us to avoid it. So
I think you're right.
I'm picking Karaoke.
I'm not gonna switch mine. That's where my gut's going. But I'm gonna stay with Party Police. Just John, you've done a good job.
Thank you so much for coming on, man.
No, hey, this is a blast. I mean, I could do this all the time. I mean, there's a lot more people that are more interesting to talk to than me.
Not many,
but I have a blast doing this. All right, here. Oh, I have to reveal.
Yeah, you got to reveal it. You reveal it. Oh snap! Here we go.
Towards the camera.
Whichever one.
We got the camera right over there. Let's
Here we go. There.
Super Bowl.
What enough! Oh my God.
Super Bowl 23
You came up with the whole lie?
was played in Miami. My
Jesus.
dad and I went to the game. Now, the story that I told about Dean Post, okay, that whole drinking game was based on a drinking game that we played in college called Love Boat, where you represented a character.
Yes.
You had Gopher, you had Captain, you had Isaac, and we did that with a 2-hour special, and we didn't last a special. That's where I got the idea for this particular story. But I have attended 2 Super Bowls. 1978 Super Bowl 13, the Steelers and the Cowboys, which the Steelers won 35-31. And my dad and I went to that Super Bowl in Miami at Joe Robbie Stadium. 49ers won 20-16. And here's the thing. Comparing those 2 Super Bowls, and I'll tell you this story. When I went to Super Bowl 13 as a third, I'm as old as the Super Bowl. The next Super Bowl will be my age because I'm coming up on 58. The parking was $5, and the face value of the ticket in 1978 was $30.
Wow.
We went to that Super Bowl. Parking was $30, and the face value of the ticket was $150. Now, if you park an automobile at a Super Bowl, you're easily triple digits. I mean, $150, $200, and face value. The cheapest ticket is probably $1,000 something
at least.
But yeah, Super Bowl 23. My dad and I went to that Super Bowl. Now have I gone to Super Bowl parties since then? Yes, but that was not one of them. And Dean Post is somebody that there is a Dean Post that played softball with us for 1 year. So, but there's no Lucy. He wasn't married. And we were not there.
He fucking got us again.
Yeah,
he did, and he did it with us picking separate stories, which is insanely hard to do.
But that's what happened the last time.
Thanks for rubbing that one in, John. Thanks so much.
Party Police is a true story.
Son of a bitch,
Party Police is a true story. My buddy George does. Yes, he was in law school, and he said it's going to be okay. And I said, why are they? But I hadn't seen the cop yet. Yeah, she came around, and I should have known because I was a little bit fuzzy, but my buddies had pointed out there was a little bit of a Keystone Cop to that uniform, but I couldn't tell. I thought it was a legitimate Metro Miami-Dade police uniform.
Yeah. When you think you're going to jail, you're not paying attention to little stuff, Yeah.
Exactly. I didn't realize it was a stripper, but I didn't put it past my friends, that they would do that to me.
Karaoke death is also a true story.
R.I.P. John Revapinto.
John Revapinto, like I said. I talked to Karen Mitchell, his sister, about 3 years ago because I tracked her down. How did I track her down? With all the criticism I have for social media? On Facebook. We had a great conversation. Yeah, she's married, lives in Pennsylvania. Her husband is a chef. I think he was a chef for the White House for a while.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But he's a real guy. John Revapinto, he was 41 years old when he was killed, when he was murdered in 1992. I was 27 at the time.
That's crazy.
And we had such fun times. I mean, I was for a good week. I wouldn't say I was depressed. I was confused.
Yeah.
I was confused because I was so young, and this man was so kind, so talented, and I don't know what happened. I know that he was a single guy, worked at a bowling alley, Don Carter's, Kendale Lanes, and he just got in with the wrong guy. I don't know. I have no idea. But that's exactly what happened. He had his throat slashed. It's a tragic ending. But to this day, October of 1992, October 12th, which here's the crazy thing about it. My daughter, from my wife's previous marriage, who I met in 96 when I started dating my wife, January of 96, because I met with my wife, my girlfriend, then October of 95. She was born on the day he was murdered.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
And I didn't know her.
Wow.
Is that crazy? Yeah. He was murdered October 12th of 92. That's the day she was born. Who would have known that 3.5 years later, or 3 years later, I'd meet a woman who had a daughter born on that day, and now she's my 30-year-old daughter.
Yeah, remind me not to hang out with you on October 12th so I don't get killed or have a child. But I got to say, I'm so very happy to know that man lived. And I love about social media. It's not the best thing in the world, but we get to immortalize this man in another way. He gets enshrined on this podcast, and his memory lives on. He gets to live on through us.
I was watching December 31st because I love watching. It's some of the most television that I watch is on New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Sure.
And the ball's dropping from New York. The ball drops, and people are making out all over the streets of New York. And there comes "What a Wonderful!" And all of a sudden, oh my gosh! I don't take a picture of it. I shoot the video. And I sent it to Karen. I said, the first person that I'm thinking of New Year, January 1, 2023 is your brother.
Yeah.
And we had a moment there,
Yeah.
even though we didn't talk it. I sent it to her, and she goes, John, that is great. I mean, she just loved that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he's in my prayers all the time, even though he's been deceased now for 31 years. We had so much fun, and you know, I keep doing karaoke once in a blue moon. Always I go up there for him, knowing that he was a really good, solid singer and a kind man.
Right.
And I'm just a goof, but, you know, I enjoy doing it.
Hey, we're all lucky to be here, man.
Seriously.
Oh,
We could all
without
be
a
in-
doubt.
we could all
That's
be in
why.
his shoes.
That's why I was confused.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
said, "My gosh,
Yeah.
why would this happen to somebody like this?" But
So
you
crazy.
know, the devil is powerful.
Yeah, that's life, man.
It is.
I love you guys.
Love you, brother.
Love you too,
sure
man.
we-
This
we
is
share
a
that.
blast. This is great.
I'm glad it worked out. We could do it tonight. We got to wrap it up because they're going to be closing here pretty quick, kicking us out. But John Beltran, it's always a pleasure, man. You know, I've got nothing but respect for you, dude. I'm glad you came back.
Thank you,
on.
Larry.
So,
Appreciate
yeah.
it, Matt. You guys are awesome. I've got a lot of catching up to do with some of the other Bullhucker podcasts.
Yeah.
I've seen
Jump
quite a
in.
few of them. They're,
Yeah.
they're super entertaining. They're
Thank you.
incredibly entertaining. I know some of the people and other people. You know what I love about the podcast? That for some of these people, I'm being introduced to them.
Yes.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely, yes.
you can't know everybody, even in a small town.
Right.
And not to sound arrogant, but I know there's more people that know me than I know them, but that's
Right.
only because of radio. That's
Yeah,
it.
sure.
That's the only
Well,
reason. It's
but
not
it's the truth, man.
It is true.
that's it. But I want to connect with people. If we don't connect with people, you know, why are we here?
Right. Susan Koser. What's up, Susan? And she's the OG on this podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Susan Koser's fantastic. But
She's the one who, she's a faithful, faithful follower. Yeah,
she's
her
a
husband
great
Paul,
listener.
and Susan, yeah.
both fantastic people. But she says it's cool because what you just said, she's got to know people in this county through this podcast. You know,
Yeah.
and I've had people tell me that they've been approached in Walmart, in the grocery store, that have been on the podcast, and they Cruise. Do you know a guy named Cruise?
Yeah. Oh my. Oh,
Yeah.
Great dude.
You know what's crazy? Is that I thought that was a fake person, and then
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I met Cruise. I said, "Wow."
He was born on your daughter's birthday. Oh no, I'm kidding. No.
I was like, well, we brought this full circle, dude. A full circle.
But he told me for like 2 weeks after the podcast, people kept approaching him and like bullshit because he had a very powerful story about heroin addiction and his father.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, and people just approached him. He goes, "Man, it was crazy." For like 2 weeks, people kept coming up to me because they got to get to know him. So, having said that, I do want to thank everybody who watches this podcast, follows this podcast.
Thank you.
If you enjoy this, like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit share, man. If you're seeing it on Facebook, share the video, man. Share it with your friends, man. We'd love to see. So, if you love John Beltran, share it. All right.
Share it.
Even if you don't like me, you know,
Share it
that's
anyway.
fine. I, like I said, I love being made fun of.
And also the Brush Emporium. Please make sure you come down here and support these guys and support all the small business in your town. That's what it's all about. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you so much, guys. And John, thank you again, bro.
Hey, anytime, Larry. Love it, Matt. Love you guys.
Love you too,
Had
man.
an awesome time sharing laughs, and I'm sure I'll be here hopefully for number 350 or whenever that.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yep.
The Bullhucker Podcast, a podcast with teeth.
Yes, yeah. The next time, the next
God,
time,
you're killing me.
yeah, the next time I might be on Medicare. Who knows?
I love it.
I hope God bless you. So, hey, I'm Lou Lundstrom.
I'm Matty G.
Next time. Peace.